Have you ever really thought about what actually changes when someone hits $1 million net worth? I mean, it's definitely not what you see in the movies. So today, let's break down the surprising shifts in math, psychology, and just plain opportunity that happen right at that seven-figure mark.
Okay, picture two people. Same city, same age, same income. The first guy, his net worth is sitting at, say, $983,000. He still feels that constant financial pressure, you know? He's checking his account before booking a flight, saying yes to projects he really doesn't want just because the money feels necessary. Now the other guy, he just tipped over the $1 million mark. The market drops and he just makes coffee. He turns down a client just because he didn't feel like doing the work. It's a tiny $17,000 gap on paper, but in real life, it's a completely different world. So what is going on here?
Well, it really comes down to this. For most of us on that journey to $1 million, there's this constant low-grade financial hum in the back of our minds. It's not poverty, not at all, but it's that little mental calculator that's always running. You know, when you're deciding whether to go on vacation or order the slightly more expensive thing on the menu. It's a calculation that, as the source here says, never fully shuts off.
And that hum, it creates something called the decision ceiling. It's this invisible barrier that, whether we know it or not, is shaping our choices every single day.
This ceiling is the reason you don't take that lower-paying but way more exciting job. It's why you say yes to stuff you'd much rather say no to. And you've probably been bumping up against it for so long you might not even realize it's there anymore. But there is a specific point, a specific number, where that background noise finally starts to fade away.
So to really get a handle on that number, we've got to throw out that whole pop culture image of what a millionaire is. Let's look at what the actual data says about these people. Now, what's so fascinating about this is how normal it all is. Hitting $1 million puts you in the top 12% of US households. The average age is 61. And get this, a third of them never even made a six-figure salary in a single year. And their top jobs? Engineers, accountants, and teachers. Yeah, teachers. Their big secret wasn't some lucky stock pick. It was just regular, boring, consistent investing over a really long time.
And this stat right here just drives the point home. A huge study of over 10,000 millionaires found that almost 80% of them got there with zero inheritance. Zilch! This isn't trust fund money we're talking about. This is wealth that was built, bit by bit, through sheer discipline.
You know, the legendary investor Charlie Munger famously said this, and man, was he right. Getting that first chunk of capital together is the absolute hardest part. But once you do, and especially once you cross that $1 million mark, the momentum starts to build on its own, and it gets fast.
And this is where the whole story shifts from psychology to pure, cold, hard math. At $1 million, you don't just have a pile of money, you have a compounding machine that's starting to run itself.
So check this out. This is the crucial point. A $1 million portfolio, if it earns an average 10% return, generates $100,000 a year, all by itself. That's more than the median household income in the entire US. Think about that. Your portfolio is now officially earning more than most families do from working full-time. The number in your account is literally more productive than you are. And in practical terms, this gives you real options. You've probably heard of the 4% rule. It basically says you can pull out $40,000 a year with a really high chance your money will last for at least 30 years. Now, that's not yacht money, but it is freedom from that low-grade financial anxiety we were talking about. It's the ability to book that flight for a friend's birthday without even having to check your bank account first. Let's see how this actually plays out. Let's call our investor Marcus. It took him 15 years of disciplined saving to hit his first million. But his second million, that only took about 7 years. And the third, just 5. His savings rate didn't change. The machine just got faster and faster.
But it's not just about the math. Hitting this milestone also unlocks a whole new set of financial tools that most people don't even know are out there.
All of a sudden, you get access to 4 really powerful advantages. First, you can become an accredited investor. That's a legal status that lets you get into private companies and hedge funds, stuff the general public can't touch. Second, you can get something called a securities-backed line of credit. It's basically a super low-interest loan that uses your investments as collateral, so you can get cash without selling your assets. You also get access to private banking with better service and better rates. And finally, you can start using advanced tax strategies that just don't make sense when you have less money.
And here's the real irony, especially with that whole accredited investor thing. The system basically says you're not sophisticated enough to access the kinds of investments that build serious wealth until, of course, you've already built serious wealth. It's a really frustrating catch-22.
So, you've got this compounding machine, you've got all these new tools. You'd think that crossing $1 million would feel absolutely incredible, right? Well, this is where the research just completely shatters our expectations.
Get this. Nearly 2/3 of American millionaires do not consider themselves wealthy. Can you believe that? Another study found that folks with an average of $3.5 million said they'd need around $7.5 million before they'd actually start to feel rich. The goalposts just keep on moving.
So if it doesn't make you feel wealthy, then what in the world does crossing that $1 million mark actually feel like?
The answer is just one simple word: relief. It's the feeling of that constant background financial noise finally getting turned down. It's not excitement, it's the absence of anxiety. It's being able to go to sleep without doing math in your head.
And this actually lines up with some of the newer research on happiness. You probably heard that old study that said happiness flatlines at a $75,000 income. Well, that study's from 2010. A brand new reevaluation in 2023 found that for about 80% of people, happiness and life satisfaction do keep rising with income well past that old number.
But, and this is a really big but, here's a crucial warning. One simulation found a staggering 44% probability that someone who hits $1 million still ends up broke. Getting there is not the same as staying there. Lifestyle creep, bad decisions, they can wipe out decades of hard work. The discipline that got you there has to stick around.
Which brings us to what the real prize is. It isn't a number on a screen, it's not a fancy car, it's something way, way more valuable than that. It's autonomy.
So let's sum it up. What does $1 million actually buy you? It buys you a world where the math is finally truly on your side. It unlocks those practical tools. It completely transforms your relationship with career risk. It gives you the ability to buy back your own time. But maybe most importantly, it buys you freedom from the pressure of always having to say yes.
Because in the end, it's not about the yacht, it's not about a trip to Tuscany, it's about this: the feeling of walking out of work on a Friday afternoon with absolutely nothing you are dreading on Monday morning. That is what $1 million actually buys you. And understanding that, well, that's the key to knowing exactly what you're working for.